And welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast Real Estate AF, where the AF stands for And Finance, and I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we're powered by LoanBot, Smarter Mortgage Matching. And on the last couple of discussions, we talked about builder incentives, we talked about 50-year mortgages, we talked, more importantly, about new versus old way of doing business and the industry professionals that are jumping into our industry. And a name came up a few weeks back of someone that is just making headwaves all over San Antonio. She walked into our office several years, what was maybe 2 years ago. And as she left the office, I told my loan officer, I said, she's going to be pretty high maintenance, but you're going to want to stick with this one. So without further ado, let me introduce Melissa Royale. Melissa, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Good. So typically on these discussions, I want to give the folks out there a little brief of who you are. But before we do that, I wanted to read something that we just looked up a moment ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the ChatGPT machine knows who Melissa is. I typed in here, can you provide me with a brief bio about Melissa Royale, realtor in San Antonio with EXP? And as it was doing its searching, Melissa turned to me and said, what? It doesn't know who I am. And sure enough, it knows enough to say that Melissa is a dedicated realtor based in San Antonio, Texas, affiliated with EXP Realty. With a background rooted in both service and family, Melissa balances her professional drives with being a proud mom of three. She specializes in helping buyers and sellers navigate the San Antonio market, bringing a mix of tenacity and clients first mindset, relentless in negotiation, seamless in execution, committed to your success. Melissa works across a broad area of San Antonio region, including neighborhoods like the 78203 all the way to 78254 and outlying areas in the region. Her service cover first-time home buyers, experienced families, and investors with a strong emphasis on making the process smooth, positive, and stress-free. Would you think that that's pretty accurate?
Yeah.
I'd say so, right? Now, before we go any further, I'd like to give you a moment to tell us who you are. Melissa, where did you come from? Where'd you grow up? All that good stuff. Because this episode, unlike a few of the past, this one's all about you. Yeah.
I don't know. I grew up on the south side of San Antonio.
Okay.
Mom of three. Before I got into real estate, I came from the wedding business. I had a wedding business. Yeah, I don't know much else to tell you.
I'm going to dig deeper. So, and if you don't talk about it, I'll pry it out of you.
Okay.
So in growing up in San Antonio, the south side, you went to high school. Then from there, what happened?
I was a stay-at-home mom for most of my adult life.
Okay.
I've been raising kids most of my adult life.
And that's the hardest job.
Yeah, until I got into the wedding business. And then I still did it from staying home with my kids. Mm-hmm. I opened a flower shop over there in like the Alamo Ranch area. Okay. Would take my little brand new baby Jameson with me, do my weddings from there. And then eventually I got introduced to real estate, and here we are.
That's cool. Okay. So the idea of being, let's call it entrepreneurial, self-employed, has kind of been a part of what you do from the time you started working.
Yeah.
After being, or while being a mom, I should say.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot about my mom. She was a stay-at-home mom, and then it was like, I've got to get out of here and do something. And she jumped in the real estate business. Same concept. Yeah. But through your journey, what made you decide to be a realtor? Before you answer that, how long have you been in real estate?
I just did my 2 years of my license, renewing my license just recently. Sold my first house January 15th of last year. Boom. I actually got introduced to real estate by my brother-in-law. We part ways, so, I became on my own. But yeah, from the very beginning I got into real estate, I've had to just figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And good thing I'm, able to do that, because I feel like those bumps caused me to be as successful as I am in one way or another. But yeah, just I didn't know a thing about real estate when I got into not a thing. And now I would say I'm doing pretty good.
And we're gonna dig deeper into some of the things that you're doing and how you have become so successful so quickly. But I wanted to emphasize for the folks listening, because on the past several discussions I've had, the question has come up, is it a good time to jump in to our business as a realtor? And it was Casey Hampton that mentioned, we all agree, yes, it is, but you need to go at it full throttle. You need to go 2 feet in, head first, that kind of stuff. And the reason being is a stat was pulled up. I think it's like something around the lines of 90% of realtors fail within their first year of doing it, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But that's also not a reason for someone that is aspiring to do it to jump into the pool.
Yeah.
And reason being, you're proof of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you never know if you are going to be the outlier or the one that, in my opinion, outworks everybody else, asks more questions than everybody else, is willing to go the extra mile and not make excuses, et cetera. Now, those are the things that, in my mind, I'm thinking what got you partially the way to where you are. Yeah. But tell us about your experience thus far. When you got into real estate originally, did you have any mentors around you?
No.
Nothing, huh?
No.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so long story short, like I said,
no, make a long story long. We got an hour.
I got into real estate. I was introduced by my brother-in-law. I didn't prepare to tell this story because I didn't know you were going to ask it, but it is what it is.
We're digging.
Got into it with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, who had their license a little bit longer than me. We realized really quickly, family don't work well together.
That's true.
So immediately within like the first few weeks, we part ways. I went on my own. I almost considered quitting. I literally said, okay, well, maybe, I should just go back to doing what I'm doing. Maybe this is his thing, whatever. I know weddings. I'm great at weddings. I did over 1,000 weddings over, a few years. So that's my thing. Maybe I'll just go back to that. And then I met another agent in real estate. And then I thought like, oh, I'll go over there and try that. And then I went over there with them. Didn't work out. Not at all. So that lasted about a month again. So mind you, at this point, I'm like 2 months in, 3 months in maybe to having my license. So then from that point, I was on my own. I rented an office over there by the airport. I had one girl who shared the office with me. She was just as new as I was. And we were kind of like the blind leading the blind, literally. If I had questions, I'd call a broker and just ask the broker. Honestly, a lot of the time I would ask the listing agent. I don't recommend that. I don't,
No, but you used whatever resources you had at your disposal.
Yeah.
And that was convenient for you. If the listing agent didn't give you advice, then I'm guaranteeing you're going to go to your broker at that point. But hey, I've got you on the line.
Yeah.
Might as well ask this question.
Yeah. Honestly, that's how it started. I just would tell them all like, hey, I am new. If I, left something off or I didn't put something in there, please just let me know. And, they all were very welcoming. They all, were very helpful. But yeah, for probably the first 10, 15 deals, it was, I was
trial
terrified.
By fire.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd call the broker a lot. I'd ask questions, hey, about this. I would do a ton of classes that had to do with contracts and things. I didn't want to mess up my contracts. I used a transaction coordinator for the first, several, because I wanted to make sure that, I'm not missing anything. I'm not getting my clients in trouble. I also would ask other agents, just that I had met like in networking events, things like that. Can I see like a copy of your contracts? And just, I just literally just used whatever I could to figure it out. And then I got about a year in. At this point, it's been my first year. Y'all mentioned it the other day. I had sold 30 something homes my first year. And I had posted on Instagram, and I was kind of disappointed in myself because there were some other agents that I followed, like influencer type agents that, gave the impression that, man, they're selling like 100 homes a year. So I was like, man, I suck. Like, how can I get to be where they're at? Yeah. This is when I met JJ and reached out to me, had coffee with him. He ended up, so a year in is when I got my first mentor. Like the first year was totally on my own. Like I really feel like I had to kind of like just like they sink or swim.
Sink or swim. Yeah.
Like
trial
they're
by
gonna
fire.
Throw you out there in the water and it's you're going to figure it out or not.
So pause right there before we get into the second year. I want to go back to the first year and see if there's any lessons that others could pick up with the first two groups that you were with. The first one being relatives. And obviously lesson is it's tough to work with family. It's not impossible. I've done it a couple times.
Yeah.
But yes, it is closer than needing to be for a business type concept that emotions start getting involved. Even things from the past start bringing why? Because they know, you know?
Yeah.
What was going on in that? If you feel comfortable, if you don't feel comfortable, by all means, you do not have to. We'll move on to number two.
So I don't.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
if you see this, you know she made it, baby.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tricky situation. I mean, we started off. I've been in the family for 17 years, so we were very close. Over the years, we would have little issues, you know. So I should have known.
Sure.
You know, I should have known it wouldn't work out, but
maybe the red flags were orange, not yet red.
Yeah, they were light red. So I should have known, but I just think that the only thing that I would say is if you're going to work with family and you've already kind of realized over the years that y'all can kind of butt heads a little bit, don't do it.
Right,
you know,
right.
There are plenty of teams and things that you can join that, you know, will help. I never was on a team because I didn't make it, but you know, I mean, I couldn't do it.
And that's totally fine. Like I go back to when you walked out of the office the first time, I said, man, she's going to be high maintenance, but that one's going to be worth it. And the reason I know that and could have sensed that day one, the questions you were asking, the openness to which you were willing to receive the information and the relentlessness to ask follow-up questions after that, just in one session tells me, okay, that's a real one. She really is going to buy into what we are doing and she's going to become a student of this game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the idea of working with family is tough, but at the same time, working on a team versus not, that's something that folks out there are going to have to determine on their own.
Definitely. I think that, you know, there are so many different personality types in real estate.
Yeah.
I just don't work on a team, you know, but that doesn't mean that others wouldn't, you know. I recommend them 100%. I get mentors. I mean, I mentor some new agents that come into EXP and I let them know like, hey, I'm here if you have any questions, if you need to reach out. Yeah. But if you want like that side-by-side hand holding, you might prefer a team, you know. They're not bad. They're just different.
It's a different way of going about the business.
They'll give you leads, they'll give you mentorship, they'll teach you, they'll train you, they'll do all the things. And some people, you know, do better like that. I just am, you know, a kind of person that's like, look, I'm, you know, painfully independent.
And it's not.
You know, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with teams for sure.
So we learned a little bit about the first. Now, how about the second? What was going on with them?
Oh man.
With you, with them, it could have been you, could have been, it's not me, it's you, it's me.
Wasn't
I don't
me.
know. So what happened? Things that we can learn.
Yeah. I just think we just need to be careful, you know, just kind of like who we choose to put ourselves around. Yeah. I don't have anything bad to say, or I don't really want to, but I think that as long as we're mindful of our environment and we know ourselves enough to know where we fit in and where we don't, and leaving, you know, when you don't feel welcome anymore, you know, that's really all I can say about it. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, anyone's to blame or any one part was more the problem. It's just, I'm a kind of person that it's like, I'm not feeling it anymore, I'm out. Like, it's just like that.
And I can also, you tell me if I'm wrong in this without you saying much about that situation. I feel it may have been a situation to where you're joining their group, but you are also the one that is running circles around the concept of, I want more, I want to learn more, I want to do more. Who's going to show me more? Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but.
I mean, yes and no, a little bit. I mean, without, you know, going too much into it kind of became an environment of maybe they thought they were taking in someone who wasn't capable or whatever. And my personality is just like,
time to move on.
I hit the ground running, and I'm like you said, I want more. I like the sky's the limit for me. I don't settle for just, sitting around and having someone feed me. Like if I say this a lot, like it, is a little irrelevant, but it's kind of relevant. It's like, if you don't set my soul on fire, I don't want to be even anywhere near you.
No, like that's a great way to look at it. Actually,
like to me, it's like, if I'm not, constantly feeling like, for one, that the vibe is good, but also to feeling like I'm welcome. It just became a, kind of a point where, that it was a couple, and, they were just a little bit like,
too much going on.
Yes.
Not enough time for Melissa.
Too much going on. Yeah. And it just, I just had to go. I had to part ways. Yeah.
So now here you are, 1 year into the business, setting your soul on fire and San Antonio in your way. What does year 2 look like? You mentioned it's time to get a coach, a mentor, someone that is in the business that can look bird's eye view, tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I can focus on. Yeah. I would assume because you wanted at least a repeat of the previous year.
Oh, I wanted better. I mean, a repeat was like boring to me. Like a repeat was like, no. And which I am kind of like at a repeat of last year. And I still feel like, I don't know. So yeah, I wanted to find that one that was going to teach me how to sell 100 houses a year. Right. I wanted to, and I didn't even know I was looking for a mentor at the time. Like when he reached out, I was over at a brokerage where you're on your own. Like it's a cloud-based brokerage. It's nothing. You show up every day or you don't. No one cares. Like no one's going to check in on you. No one's going to ask how you're doing. That's it. You do it or you don't. And I thought it was fine. I said, well, I can do this. And I was doing it. I was doing fine. He reached out and I met with him a couple of times and just he holds me so accountable. Yeah. Like I can't get away with anything. Like I can't just, say, oh, well, I'm trying. Like, yeah, right. Try harder,
Let me ask, you're paying at this point, correct?
No, I'm not paying.
Still?
No.
Okay. Then that is a mentor. Yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like he, if I would tell him, oh, I have a problem or, whatever, he's like, well, what are you doing to, about the problem? How did you get here? How can you fix it? How can you make sure it doesn't happen again? Just being held accountable on a different level. Cause like last year I just was like winging it. Sure. I just was kind of like, yeah, whatever, And then the next year it was more so of like, well, where do you want to be in 12 months? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, what do you mean you don't know? Well, and so I just was forced to go like a different direction and like really plan and not just show up every day and wing it. Not just, well, okay, well, what are your goals? And then I would say, well, these are my goals. And he's like, well, how are you going to get there? And then, well, what are you going to do to get to that? And then I'm like, I
had not thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, then you're not going to get there.
Right.
And I'm like, okay,
Now, that's literally the question I was going to ask you is, had you not stumbled upon this mentor, JJ, do you think you would have at least repeat what you did? And second part to that, would you still have your sanity?
Oh, sanity, no. So my brain was fried last year. I remember there would be times when, I'd have 2 or 3 pending transactions and I literally would just like want to cry. I mean, there are so many deadlines and dates and, things that, and I would my brain just felt fried. Yeah. And now my brain's peaceful. I talk to Nicole all the time and I'm like, my brain's peaceful. I have systems that handle these things. I have, checklists that I look at to where that I'm not constantly trying. Did I forget this? What am I supposed to be doing? It's automated now. So that's something that was learned. Last year, I didn't have that. Last year, it was just figure it out, And so, I think that would I have been the same? Probably. Because I do, it's just me. I probably would have, still.
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. One way or the other, the hard way or not. But definitely it's changed just like my quality of life of doing that. Cause now I have 6 pending transactions right now and I don't even think about it.
Right.
I have a set time that I look at it on the calendar every day. I do what needs to be done and then it's out of my mind. if I hadn't have learned those things, I don't know how long I could have stayed on that trajectory. Like I probably would have burnt out really quickly.
Yeah. And we talk about the burnout that both lenders and realtors have when they're grinding. And without the team and without the roadmap and plan to get to where you're going, it takes over you. That becomes you, instead of, like you said, I'm me, this is my business, and my business runs this way type concept. And I wanted to emphasize that for the listeners. I hope that you would answer it that way, because in my opinion, the folks that do figure those things out are able to prosper for a longer,
for sure. Yeah.
Because of the sanity piece. That's why I added that second to it.
Yeah.
In regards to systems and processes, what are some of those things, and you touched on them a little bit, but what are some of those things that could possibly help this newer generation of realtors that are getting in? Maybe they're having some good luck, some good fortune, and closing some deals and wanting to do more, but they don't have any systems in place. They're not looking at the couple of months down the road, if that makes sense.
A few of them, definitely. Number one is your Google Calendar.
Okay.
If last year I didn't even use a Google Calendar, I mean, I would just say, oh, I have an appointment on this day. Hopefully I remember it.
Yeah.
So your Google Calendar is huge. Time blocking things are huge. You can't allow people to just suck the life out of you and expect you to be everywhere all the time, responding to everything. So you set aside certain times that I'm going to respond to these things. One thing JJ says all the time is nothing is going to kill a residential deal in 24 hours. So if I'm at, like a birthday party or whatever, before I would be like, oh my God, I got to respond right now.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, I have a certain time that I look at these and I will respond when it's that time.
Right.
I have a certain time that there's another system that I created on the Google Files or whatever it is, Google Docs or something like that, where I put he sent me like a checklist, and he even laughed because I had to make it my own. I just couldn't do it the way he had
wrong
it.
with that.
But I put it into like these Google Docs, and then I put, the person's name, the client's name, address, and then just all the dates, like important dates on there. And it's literally like 30 things long. So when you have a whole bunch of pending transactions, whatever's in red needs to be addressed. So every day at a certain time, I look at it and I say, okay, this is in red. Am I able to find this today? If not, we look at it again tomorrow. I forget about it. It's out of my mind, once I look at it. So that's one system that I could not do real estate without, that one. My Google Calendar, the task section on your Google Calendar. I didn't even know about it until probably 6 months ago. You can create a task, and then instead of trying to put it all in your notes or write it on a piece of paper and lose it and things like that, the task section has been huge for me. Every day I look at that task section. I say, what can I do? What needs to be moved to the next day, et cetera, whatever.
Right.
And then as soon as you're done, you can clear them out. And then being able to see all the tasks be cleared out does something to your brain. Like it really does. And then probably aside from CRM's huge. Following up with people, if you don't follow up with them, you're going to forget about them. I close deals sometimes that I met 7 months ago, and if you meet them one time, then you forget about them, like they're going to find another realtor.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple. They're not going to care to reach out to you later unless you're their friend or whatever. And even then,
unless they've got your loan bot.
So yeah, the CRM and following up. And then lastly, I would say is my lead tracker.
Yeah.
It's just a document I got from another realtor. It's literally just being able to see a list of what leads have come in and who are they and where are they at, like what's going on with it. So I put little notes on the side of it. I switch it out every month. And then sometimes I'll go back to the months before and call them and just check in on them. And I'll put it in different colors. And I'll say, like, if this is someone that's, they're approved, they're ready to go right now, like I'm going to check in with them daily. So that's in a different color. If they are, someone that's like, I was just kind of wondering how it is, blah, 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 whatever, maybe check in with them every couple of weeks or, once a month, maybe even every 3 months, just depending on the conversation. So the lead tracker, the Google Calendar, the task section on your Google Calendar, and then that thing that I created. I saved my life.
So
honestly.
basically sitting down, looking at your business from a bird's eye view and going, okay, what things need to be delegated, automated, set on autopilot? What can I use technology for to leverage to make me a better producer, wife, parent, etc. So for the folks listening out there, one simple way to start something like this, and it doesn't even need to be super intricate, but I used to do this practice with our loan officers, and I would have them create a could do, should do, and must do column, like 3 separate columns. And each week or each day, however often you'd like to do it, you go in and you list all the things that you could do this week or this day to make your business better, to get another buyer, shopper, seller, etc. Then from that column, you move some over that you should do today, this week, etc. And then from that column, you move over the things that are must do's. And you start with your must do's and move to your could do's. And then you, at the end of the day, you go, okay, did I do everything that I should have done, could have done, and must have done type concept? And it's just an easy way to go about what you're talking about, which then turns into a time-blocked, consistent, needle-moving practice that I do every day at this time, etc., without exceptions. Yeah. So we're still in your second year. We're going strong. What is this year like? Without talking about systems, what is this year like for you being in the market that we're in and painting the picture or framing the market? We're in a affordability crisis. We are dealing with what consumers believe are higher interest rates because they're still comparing them to our 2020, 2023. And we're short on inventory on the pre-owned side, but the new construction's giving away everything. What is today's world like for you and getting deals done?
So I feel like everyone has their own situation. Everyone is different. I definitely have seen the issues with, not having a lot of pre-owned inventory. I think my biggest hurdle has been these lower pre-approval amounts, which are not necessarily low. They're just low for what we currently have. And so I just try to make it work. So I didn't really sell very much new build at all until kind of more recently. I was very predominantly pre-owned, but I just kind of look at the situation as a whole. And so in weddings, I was a photographer, a florist, and a coordinator. And as a wedding coordinator, I don't look at the problem. I look at what are we going to do to fix this?
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Amen to that.
So I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. So every person that I meet that explains their situation, whether it's I need this payment, I need these closing costs, I need whatever the case, I say, okay, well, let's figure out how we're going to make this work. I don't want to tell someone oh, I'm sorry, you just can't buy a house.
Right.
Now, sometimes that is the case. There's nothing that I can do about that. But for the most part, the ones that can, we do, and we don't just figure it out up front. I mean, we don't just give up right away if it's not easy. Most of them are not easy.
Right.
Every now and then we may get lucky and get an easy one, but
Absolutely.
Most of them are hard and they take a little, work and moving around, but so new build definitely does offer a lot of incentives, but I'm very upfront with my clients. Hey, are you planning on selling this new build within the next 3 years or something? And if they're like, no, I want to live here forever. I'm like, okay, the new build may be a good idea for you.
Right.
But if you meet someone that's like, oh, I'm not planning on living this forever. I just want this to kind of be like my starter home, whatever. I'm like, how soon are we talking? Because you're not going to sell that thing. You're going to be competing against the builder and their incentives, and you're going to be stuck here for a while.
Well, I'm glad you had that conversation.
Oh,
with people.
1,000%. Yeah.
No, that's exactly the last 2 or 3 shows. People are saying that the realtors and with the sales contract aren't being upfront about that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 1,000%. I tell everyone, I even kind of jokingly tell people, you may not like everything that I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth.
That I'm very, very proud that you say that. Weird to be, but
Yeah.
a lot of folks are scared to say that.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are scared to say the truth.
Yeah.
But I feel as though the ones that are serious about their craft, serious about being the best at their craft, have almost a fiduciary responsibility to being honest
Yeah.
about those things.
1,000% we do, because even just 2 years in, most of my business comes from repeat clients or referrals from those past clients. If you want to be transactional and maybe sell a deal every now and then, fine, whatever, go lie and say whatever you want to say.
Right.
But if you're expecting these people to come back and trust you, like, I make these people my friends, like part of my family. And I truly mean it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't just, if I meet someone and I don't like them, it's obvious. Like,
Right.
I don't have
Right.
I don't have a good poker face.
Right.
It's like, if I meet you and we don't, really mesh well, you'll know it. So the people that I meet and I just absolutely love, I loved weddings. I used to tell the people at the weddings all the time, like, man, I feel like I'm more excited than y'all are. Like, so when you truly care about people, I make videos all the time, but one of the videos that I made, I said, when you truly love like what you do, it's not hard to sell. I'm
Agree.
selling myself because it's real. And like I say, you may not like everything that I say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And there's times where I have those hard conversations with my clients where I'm just like, I'm not going to lie to you. No, that's not going to work. And no, they're like, oh, I want to put in, no, but they love that. They
Correct.
love me for that. They come back. I send them cookies to their kids on their birthdays because I'm just like, I just really love these people.
That's right.
And the ones that I don't, they know it.
They know it. That's
Yeah.
right. And not everyone is a good fit. Not every deal is a good deal. It's not worth losing your sanity or the way that you do business, which essentially is your foundation, your beliefs, your structure, your mission statement, all of the things that you can say that you stand for when you do business.
Yeah.
It would be untrue to that. So
I tell people, say I go to a listing appointment and this house is not going to sell. I say, look, I'm not in the business of just putting my sign in your yard and then you hating me later. I would rather you hear the truth up front.
right.
Or same thing if I'm going to put in an offer and they're like, well, can we offer $50,000 under? And I say, look, no, let's be realistic.
We can, but do you not want to hear back from the sellers?
That's why I say, are you a serious buyer or not? Like, what's our end game? Are we trying to get this accepted?
Yeah.
And they appreciate that, but it's really just the truth. I've never had a problem with the truth.
No, me neither.
I'm very like, it's whatever. And I guess that works. But yeah, so pretty much that's kind of where I've been.
It really does work. Speaking from someone that operates business the same way, I've got customers that love me because of that. And then I've got customers that don't take well, but we don't end up working together. And that's okay with me because at the end of the day, I'm going to give you your real advice.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint the real picture for you. I don't want you to come back to me. I'd rather you come back to me because you went with someone else and say, hey, you were right.
Yeah.
Versus you sticking with me and saying you were absolutely incorrect because I wanted to get the business.
Yeah. And that happened recently. I don't know if you saw my post where I said,
No, tell me.
Today I turned
Matter
down.
of fact, tell us.
Yeah. So recently I had posted on Facebook that today I was going to tell the story of how I turned down a showing that last year I'm not a showing, a listing that last year I begged for.
Okay.
I literally begged the lady.
Tell us about it.
Okay. So last year it was pretty early on. Now, just because of the training and things that I've had, I would say that I'm an expert in listings.
Yeah.
Like I know them pretty well. Last year, buying a house is not the same as like the listing side.
Agreed.
They're two totally different things. So I wasn't great at it. I kind of knew how to run comps and that was about it.
Yeah.
Like literally that was it. So if I went to a listing appointment, I'd be like, sure, like, yeah, I'll sell it. And maybe I did or maybe I didn't, Now I can pretty much predict if I can sell this house or not. I can tell the seller about how long it's going to take me to get it sold. There's so many aspects that go into selling a home. So last year I get a call from a lady. I actually go and I meet with her. I'm sorry, I called her. It was a for sale by owner. I went to go meet with her. She wanted a price way too high. And I didn't care. I was like, what do I need to do to get this listing? I'll cut my commission. Like, just tell me, like, what is it? And she was like, I'll let you know. And I thought the meeting went well. Like, I really thought she was going to hire me. I met her and, we had a conversation for like an hour and a half long. I really was convinced she was going to hire me. She never did. a year. And I followed up with her every couple of months, ignored me. She would not respond to my call. She wouldn't respond to my text, but I would periodically look online to see if it had sold, and it hadn't.
Right.
I really wanted the listing.
Okay.
So a little over a year goes by, and I get a call the other day, and it's her. And I was like, oh, wow, like weird. So I figured maybe she was going to ask me about something else. No, she still hadn't sold this house.
Which you knew.
I knew. Yeah. Yeah. So she calls and she says, hi, I still haven't sold my house. And, I've had it on the market, and I'm about to have to pay taxes again. I'm about to have to pay insurance again. And, and it's just too much. And, I really need to get it sold. So I was like, oh, wow, like, I can't believe she called me back. So I tell her, you know what, let me go run some numbers again, and, I'll give you a call back. I do a CMA on it, and I call her back, and I'm like, this is the range that you can sell in. These are how many active listings you're competing against in the neighborhood. These are how many have sold in 12 months. I'm telling her all these things, and she's still adamant on keeping that higher price.
What was her reasoning or logic behind that?
She owed some money, and she wanted to be able to pay that off and still have, after closing costs and everything, she wanted to still be able to have a good amount of money left over. And then she said, well, so I was explaining it to her line by line, like, these are going to be your closing costs and, things like that. And then she said, well, you told me last time that you would cut your commission. And I said,
that's cute.
Yeah. And I go, unfortunately, like, I'm number one, I'm not going to cut my commission. But number two, I still am not a good fit for this listing.
Right. And
I said, I really, wish you well. Let me know if you ever, have any questions or need anything from me. But it's just, unfortunately for me, or, for you or whatever, but this listing just isn't going to be, I'm not going to take it. And she, she was like, oh, okay, well, thank you for letting me know and things. But it's crazy how we go full circle, because like I said, last year, I literally was begging this lady. Yeah. I was in the driveway with her saying, so what do I got to do? Yes. I mean, I was like, is it the commission? Is it this? Like, and yeah, I'll let you know. Here we are. And I've really mastered my craft, which I still have a lot to learn, of course.
You're a student to the game. Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm just a total different agent than I was in that time. And now I'm like, not only I'm not going to cut my commission, I'm not even going to take that listing.
A couple of things from that story that I'd like to dig in deeper. First off, the idea of you cutting your commissions because it's being asked, that leads me to the NAR settlement thing. When that was going on, you were still in your first year. Mm-hmm. Was that scaring the hell out of you? Did you know what was going on? Did anybody kind of preface that, hey, we're in Texas, we already kind of do something like that? Make sure to state your value.
Yeah. It didn't really scare me because it's kind of like all I knew. Yeah. You know what I mean? They were already talking about it like right when I got my license.
Okay.
This is kind of, they hadn't made the actual decision yet.
Correct.
But they figured it was going to go that way. So they were kind of already like any of like the broker meetings and stuff we would have, they would say, this is the direction we're kind of already taking anyway. So I mean, I didn't even know any different.
Yeah.
So, and I guess like the first few deals when I would put in an offer, I'd call right away and I'd say, hey, I just want to know how much commission you're offering and, this and that. And then I started to realize like, look, I'm going to put in the offer, whatever. And then this happened recently. And I actually had the conversation with the lady about the NAR settlement.
Okay.
I went to put in an offer last week. And in the offer, I put, mind you, the house had been on the market for over a year. I gave a really good offer. I went in full price. I only asked for a little bit of whatever our max concessions,
closing,
but it's it was a conventional
so 3%
loan. So
yeah,
so it wasn't
down.
much.
Yep.
Yeah. So it wasn't much on concessions. And then I asked for my 3% so that my buyer doesn't have to pay for it. Mind you, I wouldn't make my buyer pay for it. But
right.
Anyway, and I put in my 3%. Well, this lady is an actual broker and reaches out to me and says, we accept your offer as is. 5 minutes later, she's like, actually, there are going to be a couple of changes. One of them is we're only offering 2.5%. And the other one is we're not going to pay for a survey. And I said, so we went kind of back and forth for a minute. And I explained to her, had we known, she said, you should have called me up front and asked me what we were offering. I said, first of all, what you're offering is irrelevant to me.
Agree.
My 3% that I'm going to ask for is a package deal based on data of
Absolutely.
the offer. I don't care what you're offering up front. I'm going to look at how long has this home been on the market? How good of an offer am I giving? And I'm going to put my 3% in there. And then you, as an agent, should be educating your seller on the benefits of accepting my offer.
Absolutely.
Not, well, we agreed to begin with that I don't care what y'all agreed with
Yes.
to begin with. And I even explained, I said, with EXP, we don't do broker to broker compensation anyway. I said, so you're welcome to amend your listing agreement, and then she throws in, well, I lowered mine. And
that was
that's
on
great.
you, ma'am.
Yeah. I said, I love how you discounted yours and we're willing to discount mine. I said, but, unfortunately, I feel like you would be misleading your client if you let him think that this was the norm, because there is no norm.
That's right.
And you also are kind of failing him if you don't explain to him the benefit of accepting this
the offer that's on the table.
Yeah.
That's right.
With all of the details at hand, you've been on the market over a year.
Yep.
Are you turning away good offers based on 0.5%?
Right.
And so she ended up accepting
You're fighting
my offer.
over pennies
Yes.
when there is literally a mountain of cash waiting for your seller.
I told her, I said, I have a ready, willing, and able buyer.
That's right.
You want it or not? And she accepted my offer.
Ready, willing, and able. I've always said that is buyers have to be three things. They have to be ready, willing, and able. If they're not one of those things, you're not going to get them across the finish line. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I can't take credit. JJ says all the
There
time.
you
It's
go.
not a lead
Okay.
unless they're
That's right.
willing and able. But
That's right.
so she accepted my offer. Yeah.
So in that instance of the negotiation back and forth, number one, you're right. You don't have to call her, even if you did, and she said, yeah, we're offering 2.5.
I
You
still could
submitted
put
at 3.
3%. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that means nothing. Is it a courtesy? I don't know. I don't even think it is
I don't
a courtesy.
think it is.
Because you guys negotiate on contracts.
Yeah.
You don't
And if someone
negotiate
called
on
me
words.
as a listing agent and asked me, what are you offering? I wouldn't give them an answer.
That's right.
I
Submit
would
your
say,
offer.
submit your offer and we will look at it as a whole.
Yeah.
So I just kind of do the same thing. There is no standard the way she, made it seem.
Right. No, and I totally agree with that. Do you think that, let's say someone in your position of last year, your first year in the business, the way you were trying to get that listing so bad, cutting your commission and throwing everything at it to capture that business, do you think that there's a lot of that going on, which is spreading the narrative of lowering the realtor's value? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I do think there is a lot of that going on. I think that, a lot of agents think that some business is better than no business. And I'm not saying I've never cut my commission.
Sure.
I have. There are times where, my seller doesn't have enough with the offer that's come in to, close without paying out of their pocket. And, we're going to go buy as well. So, you know what I mean? I make it work for them because ultimately they are the most important.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to be paid for my work, but I don't want to put my clients in a bad place, So
Absolutely.
I have lowered my commission before, but I also don't think that all business is good business. There's some times when it's just not a good, fit, or it's just not a good, and I don't think that lowering it lowers our value so much, because any person who has bought or sold will tell you that a good real estate agent is worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Because not most, but a lot of agents, and I know because I've worked on the other side of them, don't have a clue of what they're doing.
Right.
And I'm not saying that like I'm the best or I'm the smartest or anything like that. I still have a lot to learn. I've said that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that are just kind of like flying by in the seat of their pants, and and a lot of these questions that they ask or things that they'll put on the contract. But I know that I was in that place at one time. So
Right.
I'm kind about it, but I can just see like overall, like a lot of people just like there are a set of good ones and then there's the rest.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, all real estate agents, no, I don't think that everyone should be. And I've said this before. There are some that kind of like do it part-time and their family know that they're agents and maybe throw a deal in their lap every few months or whatever. But the ones that are working every single day, hours on hours on hours on hours, we're sacrificing. I feel like, yeah, we should be paid because I work hard and I make sure that they're getting a good deal and I fight for my clients. And there's a lot of things that I use my experience to prevent them from some muddy waters. You know, a lot of agents wouldn't know that. A lot of them maybe just, get them to the finish line and we hope that nothing comes back and bites them later. But for the most part, there are a lot of things that shouldn't make it to the finish line with most people. And they do because of experience, not just my own, but a lot of people, there are times where, like I said, last year, I wasn't, like the greatest. I didn't really know what I was doing. And those listing agents carried the whole deal. There would be some things that were happening and, I would have been like, all right, well,
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to give you a little bit more credit because you say I wasn't the greatest. And no, matter of fact, you can strive to be the greatest. That's why I keep a brass number 2 in my office because there's always someone better. So keep chasing, keep improving, keep learning, being a student to your game because no matter how good you think you are, there's somebody better. And that's okay. Who the hell do we have to learn from if there's not?
Exactly.
And in the instance of I guess your first year trying to do what you did. And I talked about this in maybe 2 discussions ago, the idea of part-time versus full-time. And you brought that up. Mm-hmm. So I want to know your thoughts. Is this game industry possible to do part-time? Go for it.
No, I mean, you can get a license and you can be broke paying all those fees that we have if you want to do it part-time. And like I said, you may sell a house here and there when, like you have a family member that knows that you do it and then they bring it to you. But no, it takes consistency and follow up and hard work every single day, in one form or the other, whatever it is that each person chooses as their lead generation or whatever, it takes that every single day. Because even if, like I said, you sell a couple or whatever, you're constantly going to, just have such inconsistency. And these fees are expensive.
Absolutely.
So no, I've had people that reach out, that, knew me from before and they send me a message like, hey, I see you're doing so great. Like, I want to get my real estate license and do it like as a backup or part-time. And with them, I'm honest too. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. I mean, it's not something there's so many ins and outs and things that if you don't just really eat, sleep, and breathe real estate, then you're just going to waste a lot of your time.
And I think that is a reoccurring issue that will continue to plague our industry, which is the idea of the barrier to entry being so low. Mm-hmm. You go take a couple classes, you pass a standardized test, and guess what?
Yeah.
Pay a fee and you're a realtor.
Yeah.
But because you have a license, does that, yes, it gives you the ability to sell, but are you doing the right thing for your customer if you're not shadowing somebody that is a top producer, doing what they're doing, seeing what they're doing to see if this is something that you even want to get into?
Yeah.
But it is such a low barrier to entry that you get in and like always, we close our first deal that's a family member, a friend, a close friend, the sphere of influence kind. And that was easy.
Yeah.
And then you go down the road, month 2, 3, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where's the business?
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next topic, which is you being in the business so new. Where are you getting your business from, if you don't mind talking about that? Because the idea of where you get your business from isn't going to be the same as anyone else. And even if it is, they are still different pools, if that makes sense. Like I say fish where the fish are. Well, my fish are in a different pond than your fish.
1000%. Yeah. So when I first started, I had no idea where to get leads from or anything like that. So I did the only thing that I could think of. I just picked my phone up and just start talking into it. That's gosh, what's his name?
The speaker that I've seen twice now. Oh goodness. You know him. Everybody, Tom Ferry.
Yeah.
The Tom Ferry saying right there.
Yeah. So
pick up your phone and start dialing.
No, not even dialing. I'm talking about I would just make videos.
Okay.
Yeah. So I see that a lot of people, and to each their own, I'm not judging. I think the ones that take a funny approach to it or a comedic approach to it, great. Like it works for them. I mean, I'm pretty funny like in just a normal setting, but as far as like being like an actor in a video, like I don't have it. So all I knew to do was just kind of pick up the phone. I hold it right out in front of me. There's no fancy production, anything like that. And I just would start giving as much information as I could. So I would teach as I learned. So from day one, and one of my biggest things that I've focused on since I've got into real estate is I was also a first-time home buyer just
Look at that.
recently,
Okay,
you know, and there's like this big myth that it's so hard to buy a house and you need 20% down and you got to have a 800 credit score and you got to have all of these things, because even that's what I thought, you know, 2 years ago before I bought a house. Even though I had family members that were in real estate, I didn't have a clue how to buy a house. I never even considered it. And I'm in my older years. I'm not, my young 20s.
You are a spring chicken still.
So,
we're the same age. So
yeah.
Easy on that.
Well, you know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm this young college student that's just naive to life. Like I'm older, so you would have thought I knew how to do it, and I didn't. So that's kind of the approach that I took. When I would learn something, I would teach it. When I would do something, I would share it, just like that. Yeah. And it's just picked up. So I don't get my business from strangers for the most part on social media, but just staying top of mind with people that already know me. That's where it all comes from, is, referrals from them, or, just them, or now it's been mainly past clients and repeat clients. Yeah.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There you go. And I think a lot of folks are scared to share like you're talking about, because then people will go, oh, wow, you just learned that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you may be thinking that, but the person that saw it, that as I'm actually going to help, respects the fact that I just shared that.
Yeah. 1000%.
So it's two sides of the token. The one that is judging probably isn't looking for business themselves.
Yeah, probably sitting around doing nothing.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and I share it all, and I even say like, hey, look, I practice what I preach. I bought a starter home. I didn't just say, well, I can't buy a $500,000 house, so I'm just going to stay renting forever. No. They told me, y'all actually told me, you can buy up to $250,000. And I wanted to be in this specific neighborhood so my kids can stay in the school, because we rented the same house for 13 years. So I said, okay, I have up to $250,000. I know I need a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and I need to be in this same neighborhood so my kids can go to the same school. Yeah. So I had like 4 houses to choose from.
There you go.
They weren't nice. But
you still took that seriously.
I took the opportunity, and I have fixed my house up to where I love it. I say all the time, I don't think I'll ever sell this house.
That's awesome.
I did a ton of work on it, and I even jokingly say one paycheck at a time. Like I built my dream home. Amen. One paycheck at a time. So I try to share that. Like, look, I'm not standing up here telling you, oh, go buy an ugly house. Like, no, I'm right here with you guys. Like come buy a house, whatever you can afford, fix it up little by little. And then, if you want to sell 5 years down the road or whatever, leave with your check, and then you can go buy something bigger. You posted that before, which I thought was really cool, because it even gave me hope of like, yeah, that's really cool. He went from this, and then a few years later he went to this, and then a few years later he went to this. And when you share those things, even people, that I'm not even looking for that information, but I came across it, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool,
True story.
Yeah. And same here with me. I mean, I'm explaining to people like, look, I did it too. I'm not here just telling you because I'm trying to sell you a freaking house. Like, I'm telling you, if you want to own a home, this is where we start. And, and then we'll get there later. That's right. But, start somewhere. And some people appreciate it and some don't. I get a lot of rude comments. I don't really care. I delete them. It is.
You know what? They feed the algorithm. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up, which leads me to another conversation, a bigger conversation about and I've been trying to bring this home, on every other discussion, and hopefully it'll spread maybe a movement of people and their lack of understanding or willingness to sacrifice to get what they can now to work towards what they couldn't at the time, if that makes sense.
Build equity, and then you leave with a check later.
Yeah. And the folks that, I'll start with this. Are most of the folks that you're helping right now, let's say on the buy side, are they folks that truly need some help, but they're willing to actually accomplish that goal?
Yeah.
I knew that because this market has bred those type of buyers. All of the ones that rates are too high. There are a ton of people that could care less about the rate right now and want to own a home so they can start building some equity and work towards that next home and the next home, et cetera. But they understand the fact that I've got to kind of live in that for now and build up to the next. What are you seeing as far as buyers' expectations and willingness to compromise in that aspect?
I love that. So that's one of the first conversations that I have with people. I went through kind of hell until I realized, look, if you don't set expectations, you are going to be miserable. So
And
they
you
are and
as
we
a-
are.
okay, very
yeah,
good.
They are and I am, right? There's a big gap between reality and not. And if you don't set those expectations up front, it's going to be miserable. So I do get a lot of, buyers that are like, and it's not only just first time home buyers. A lot of times it's someone in the $500,000 range, but they want a $700,000 looking house. They just haven't really kind of grasped that, look, I don't know what you're used to, but this is what it is. And I let them know up front, there's going to be a compromise.
Yeah.
Unless you have an unlimited budget and you can check every box for your dream home, unless you have an unlimited budget, you're going to have a compromise. Now, is that compromise going to be on the location? Is it going to be on the size? Is it going to be on the age? Is it going to be on the upgrades? Is it going to be on the, whatever?
Correct.
There's going to be if you're not willing to compromise or you can't compromise on your budget, then be ready to compromise on something else.
Yeah.
Don't come and say, I need this, and this, but I will not go above this amount of
Payment.
money.
Yeah.
Then I let them know that's not going to happen. Do you want to find something or do you not?
Right.
Because there is going to be a compromise. Now, I can find you, I can check some of your boxes, like maybe you say, because like I said, it's not only the lower, like first time home buyer budgets. It's a lot of times it's like those $500,000 people too. They want something that's looking in the $700,000 range. I want 5 acres, but the house needs to be brand new and this and that. And I let them know
Better
up
move
front.
to Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I let them know. I say, hey, what are your must-haves? What are your deal breakers? And let's work on that.
Yeah.
Because thinking that we're going to get everything is not going to happen. So what is that going to be? Are we going to compromise on the size of the home? Are we going to maybe move a little further out of the city, kind of on the outskirts so that we can get something bigger, maybe a bigger yard, or, a lot of them will say no HOA. Okay, well, now you just wiped out half of the inventory. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what is the most important to you? Pick those.
Yep.
And let's discuss that. And then we'll see what we can throw in from down here. But having that conversation is so important if you don't want people just to
No, I totally agree with that.
run you over.
So, JC, how much time are we at?
1 hour and 2 minutes.
Okay, so we can wrap this up here in a bit. But what allows you, as a second-year realtor, the courage, the cojones, whatever it is, to be able to have that conversation? Because that is another thing that I can tell you, it separates you from any other that doesn't have that conversation and spends weeks upon now it's a month and another month and they still haven't found a home. Why?
Yeah.
Because you haven't set proper expectations of
1000%.
what they're even looking for.
Yeah. One, it's just my personality.
Okay.
But 2, I think it just comes with experience. It comes with getting tired of being like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Well, this is where the mentorship comes in. I would go to him and be like, dude, I'm done. Like, I'm exhausted with it. And then he would walk me through it and say, what expectations are you setting? Are you having these harder conversations? And I would be like, no. Okay, well, then get out there and have them or get out of my face,
That's right.
And so the same way he sets those expectations with me, I turn around and set those expectations with them, because the same way he doesn't want to hear me complaining about the same crap over and over, I also don't want to keep having the same conversations over and over about, but why it doesn't exist. So let's find what does exist in your must-haves and in your, your deal breakers and what's most important to you, and try to see how many boxes we can check, unless you're just not a serious buyer altogether, and sometimes they're not, And
That's exactly right. Some people need to be willing,
yeah,
in that aspect. So, Melissa, the last 2 final questions I want to ask you, and you don't have to answer right away, but the first one is, what's some advice you would give to a brand new realtor trying to jump into this industry today? And then the second piece is going to be, what's some advice you would give to a buyer that is jumping into this market today?
To the brand new realtor, I would say take a real deep look at who you are as a person and what you need to succeed and what you need. Just see who you are, kind of, look at where would I fit in? What do I need? and adjust from there. Not everyone's going to be the same. Yeah. Some people are far more organized than I am. Some people are, they hustle more than I, whatever the case, just see what it is that the kind of person that you are and base your decisions on where you go from that. Yeah. Because if you just take advice of go join a team, if you just put everyone on a team, clearly we don't all need a team.
Right.
A team would have been the opposite of beneficial to me. Yeah. But others, that works for them and they can stay on a team for life. And there's nothing wrong with them. Everyone has their own, way of learning and their own personality types and things like that. So kind of find out who you are and what you need and stay freaking organized. Yeah. If you're not organized, your brain's going to fry and you're going to be burnt out really quick.
That's good advice on that side. So now how about buyers out there?
Buyers, the piece of advice that I would give is there's something for you. I'm not asking you to settle. I'm just asking you to look for what works for you right now in your budget or your price range, and just work towards building equity so that someday you can have whatever you want, even a few more times like you did. Right. I went to this one and then I went to this one, I went to this one. But when you completely cut out the idea of ever starting from the beginning and you try to just jump right to the middle, you're never going to get to that. You're going to constantly be saying, I'm going to keep saving. But in the time that you're saving, home prices are going up.
Yep.
So unless you're planning on getting, like you're in school to be a doctor and then you're going to be a doctor and you're going to be rich. Okay, whatever.
Not all doctors are rich.
I know. Yeah, I know. But, just having that idea of like, I'm going to wait. I don't recommend it, but just pick your must-haves, write out a checklist of, these are the things that I will not compromise on. These are my must-haves. And obviously budget's probably going to be one of them. Yeah. So you got to be mindful of what's out there. A lot of, buyers will think that you're going to send them 10,000 houses. And it's like, no, once we start typing in the criteria on MLS, it goes from here to like, yeah. And then you send them 10 homes and they're like, that's it. And I'm like, no, that's really it.
Yep.
So just being mindful of realistic expectations. And as long as you're able to compromise, you'll find something and you'll make it into what you love and you'll live in it for a little bit because if not, you're renting anyway, you know, and then maybe someday you can have something even better. But like I said, I'm still in the same one and I have no plans on buying anything else. So
I like that. Melissa, I'm actually going to ask you one more question. I think I'm going to ask every one-on-one guest this moving forward. What is some advice you would give yourself today if you could tell yourself something day one in real estate?
Oh, God.
One thing. And it can't be run.
I know. I mean, I would just tell myself that you know who you are. You know what you're capable of. Just get through the hard parts. The hard parts are never going to end, but they will get a little less heavy to carry and you'll find your way.
Boom. Well, that was said very nicely. And I know that you mean that. Ladies and gentlemen out there, today was a pretty cool discussion because we've been talking about the COVID agents, the folks that got into our industry pre-2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, that era. And for the most part, a lot of them are having a tough time. That's not my opinion. That's just the overall consensus of it. And today I've had a great discussion with Melissa, who is an outlier. But you also got to hear what it took for her to become that outlier. You also got to hear what she had to sacrifice, what she had to go through in order to be where she's at today. And I have no doubts that she's going to continue to help more buyers and learn more and continue to be a student of this game, this crazy world called real estate that we live in. Melissa, I want to thank you for joining me and telling your story transparently, as difficult as it seemed up front. Not too bad, huh?
Yeah.
An hour feels like 20 minutes.
For sure.
There you go. Well, guys and gals, thanks for tuning in. We are now, JC, throw up on the screen. Let's see here. Let me hit refresh on this thing. Where are we sitting? We're at 31.2 thousand subscribers and growing. I really appreciate you guys. So if you're watching this, if you get something out of it, make sure to share with somebody that could also benefit from it. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will catch you on the next one. If you're still sending out pre-approval letters and praying your realtor send you the next lead, you're already behind.
Top producers are winning because they're giving their agents more than just rate sheets and donuts. They're giving them LoanBot. With LoanBot, you can offer realtors a white-labeled, co-branded digital mortgage tool that they send straight to their buyers. It's like giving them a mini loan officer in their pocket. Available 24/7, fully loaded, and branded with your name and their trust. Buyers can self-diagnose, compare loan programs, check real numbers, search properties, and explore down payment assistance without blowing you up at 10 p.m. And the best part? You see everything, every scenario, every lead, every milestone. You're looped in the whole way. LoanBot isn't a widget. It's the referral machine you've been waiting for. Here's the deal. Your realtors can get it from us directly for $9.99 a month. But it'd be in your best interest if they got it from you. Either way, they're going to get it. White-labeled, co-branded, transparent, and more.
Sign up for your demo with our team of innovators.